Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to NickTalks. Yes, sir. So, been a little bit, I don't think it's been too long, but different location, different scenery. The office is currently in use, and I wanted to try this as opposed to on the couch as a secondary location. So, with that being said, we will jump right into it, and we're going to be sticking to the style of, or the structure of point, expand, and wrap it up with the life hacks, of which I am going to be adding something right here. Cool. All right, so we'll just kind of jump into it. This first one kind of comes from, I think I mentioned in the last one, this lack of inspiration that I was feeling, and how that was kind of causing me to look at things differently, and that's how I kind of discovered and got into GTD and creating an infrastructure around my note-taking process, so capture and distill and express and all that good stuff, and organize. So I'm kind of expanding on that here, and I started to kind of, I don't know, feel a little bit of despair last time, as this period was growing of lack of inspiration and just not really booming with ideas and thoughts and, the passion that I had before. And then it kind of clicked that it doesn't really matter how we feel, and that's something that I think is actually very important. And when you're choosing an endeavor, especially one that is especially grand, there's going to be times when you don't really want to do it. There's going to be times when you're aching to do it, and it's important to kind of bridge the gap between your emotions by just removing emotion out of it. Obviously, you want to feel fulfilled and purpose, passion driven and all this stuff, right? But sometimes you're not gonna. So it's important that at the end of the day, you ignore these negative feelings and just continue to push on, right? If you're not feeling driven to go to the gym, just do it anyways. Because who cares? Why does it matter? Why do you have to feel good about it? If you have a path, right? This goes back to what we just talked about having a path, about having a blueprint that is going to lead you to where you want to go, right? You know what the next step is. You know how to get there. So instead of depending on how you feel emotionally, remove that from the equation and just stick to the plan. Stick to the plan, stick to the plan, stick to the plan, right? And I think that this kind of goes either way, because immediately it jumps into mind negative emotion, right? So when you are feeling negative about your circumstances or your plan or your place or whatever you got going on, that's when it seems like this would really fit in. Okay, I got to ignore these negative feelings and I got to go get that workout in anyways. I got to go do that paperwork anyways. I got to go film this video anyways, right? But I think it kind of goes either way. And this is something that I tend to fall into a lot, which is when I get really excited about something, especially like a new life trend, like say the housing market, right? I start doing research on the housing market, which is something that I fully intend on breaking into at some point, as soon as possible, rather. But the problem is what will happen with anything, but we'll just use this as an example, is say, I discover some new part of the housing market that seems really applicable to me, okay? And so then I spend 8 hours a day watching videos and taking notes and doing all this stuff and just grinding, and then eventually 2-3 weeks down the line, I'm burnt out and I could not even hear someone walking down the street say something about houses without getting annoyed, right? And so when you find things that are gonna be important to the success of your lifetime career as a human being, right? It's good to get excited about things, but it is not conducive to a long-term pattern, right? So take that excitement and use it, maybe increase a little bit what you're intaking or what you're outputting, either way, but remember to keep yourself back, because if you just drum away and you dig, eventually you're gonna have nothing left, and you're gonna be like, I don't care anymore. And so that's a really short-term approach, and you can get much more done over the long term if you just calm yourself down, slow down those vibrations a little bit, and then just chip away at it like you would normally. And then that way you can get 1, 2, 4, 5, 7 years down the line, and you're still intrigued by the process because you didn't jump so heavy handed into the mix that now it's too much to bear, right? So it kind of, like I said, it can kind of go both ways. So to recap, broad thing here is do not let how you feel affect your actions, right? And effort can still exist despite minimal or maximum inspiration, right? So that kind of wraps up point number 1. And just when you start feeling like, just try and take a second to pull back from your emotion and be like, okay, like, wow, this sucks. What I'm doing right now, I really don't enjoy. And then thinking, does that matter? Does it matter? Does that matter? Does how I feel about this particular part of the process, is that really gonna matter? Or should I just suck it up and get things done, right? It's like every single day that I go to work, fucking hate it. Hate it. I hate going to work, right? It's not my job. It's not, I like where I work. I like the people that I work with. I like the process of what I do. But it's the fact that I have to do it. It's that I do not choose to do this every single day. It's like, this is what I've chosen as the place that I'm going to put my time in at, but I don't have everything set up on the side to where I can abandon that yet. So it is what it is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how I feel on a Tuesday afternoon when it's 7 o'clock and I got to start clocking in. It doesn't matter. Just hop into it. It is what it is, right? That's kind of what I'm talking about here. So, number 2 here, so we'll cross that off, check. Base experience and engagement on what humans have lived long enough to evolve to understand, right? So this is kind of coming into an arena that I've started to really wrap up in my mind, where, because I dabble in many different areas, as I've argued in the past, is a great way to improve yourself as a human being, is just to diversify your knowledge base, I think is what my wording was. But what is kind of becoming clear now, as I think most people that I listen to are kind of realizing as well, is that all of these things that we are told to take care of ourselves, so like limiting screen time and being more connected with others in a sense of community, being more intentional about diet and exercise, and when you do use the screen, what are you consuming, all of these things, medication, what to take, what not to take, if you should be taking any at all, fresh air, sunlight, all these things. I can go on and on and on and on, right? So what this is kind of wrapping up as a main header of all of these ideas, instead of, individual health and longevity and things like that, just wrap it up as human evolution, right? So when you think over the course of the entirety of human life, which is tens to hundreds of thousands of years, right? Just think about how quickly we've gotten from basically not having cars to where I can order a car on my smartphone and it'll show up at my door in 5 minutes and take me anywhere I want to go, right? So you got to think back, kind of losing my point here, but let's jump back in. just think about how quickly things have evolved, how quickly we didn't have any phones, and then now all of a sudden I have access to literally the entirety of the wealth of humanity's knowledge, and all I have to do is go to one website and type in a search, right? That's pretty amazing. Now the reverse of that is, how long have we had as human beings to evolve to understand the impacts of these technological advancements on our psyche, right? Our mind, our health, our bodies, our awareness, our consciousness. And that is not long at all. 100 years, which is, so basically 1 or 2 generations is all that it's taken to get us to this point. Do you think that in that short time span that humanity has fixed whatever in their mind is, or I don't know, assessed what the processes of our mind to be able to handle that information? Hell no. Hell no. We were drawing on caves not too long ago, and now all of a sudden we can tweet and everyone in the world will see it, right? So you have to, at least I'm arguing here, that you should really take that into consideration when you plan out how you use your time, right? Because yes, maybe movies are great, but not so much movies. Yes, maybe YouTube is great, right? I have many arguments as to why YouTube is one of the most superior methods of learning that I'm aware of, right? And that includes big universities. I would argue that YouTube can be, when used properly, a better tool than mainstream universities. That being said, what is the downside of that much information being beamed directly into your mind, right? And what are the limits there? How do I know? Where do you go? So I have 3 subpoints here. I have, what have we evolved to handle? So it's asking yourself, what have we had the time as a species to evolve to understand the complexity of and handle on a day-to-day level, right? What have we not evolved to handle? Okay, so what have we not had the time to fully allow our bodies to process mentally or physically, right? I'm starting to hear things about how, the body's inability to break down heavily processed soy things, so you have these vegetarian or vegan burgers that, is this true? I don't know. I'm not saying this is fact. I'm saying that I've just heard this and it's a prime example of what could be the case, or just chicken nuggets from the freezer section, any of these things, right? They're quick, they're easy, they're heavily processed, they may contain or may not contain real sources of actual food, right? Have we physically, let alone mentally, with all the social media and things like that, have we physically evolved to be able to handle the type of food that we are eating currently, right? This is kind of why I think that you're starting to see a lot more farm-to-table stuff, a lot more encouragement of home gardens and things like this, because people are realizing that, wow, there are serious negative health effects to monocrop agriculture and mainstream farming as a whole, right? Like, you have to use pesticides, or you have to come up with natural solutions for the ground that, then have to be tested and then have to be adopted widespread, and then long-term data has to be, we don't have time for all this stuff, right? We need to have healthier food now. And so this is, again, another example of how we have not evolved to be eating mozzarella sticks on a daily or weekly or even monthly basis, right? All of this processed foods that we continuously consume, it isn't what your system is completely enabled, right? And then the third point here is spend time accordingly. So that kind of comes into making your own choices. This comes into thinking. All I'm saying is to think about these things. I'm not saying, don't go out to eat. I'm not saying don't consume social media. What I'm saying is spend your time accordingly, right? So if you know that human beings as a species have not evolved to drink canned Coke, right? Does that mean you should never drink it? Maybe, maybe not, right? But at least you can make a choice accordingly to either lower or raise the amount that you consume something. How much do you eat that is grown in your backyard? Are you even growing food in your backyard, right? And then understanding the benefits and downfalls of that. And so it's just use this as a kind of thought experiment around your daily habits, right? Your daily choices of what you watch, what you read, what you listen to, how much you do all of those things, what you eat, what you drink, right? All of these things. And I think that this is kind of why you're seeing this resurgence of intentional living, about, people are taking more into account like science-based tools and understanding that, like, wow, the things that we're doing on a daily basis, we have not been equipped to handle whatsoever, right? Your mind isn't able to process all this information at a lightning speed. That being said, obviously we can do much more than our ancestors even a couple of years ago could do, right? We're growing quickly, but not as quickly as technology is. So when you have this mismatch of advance, right? Whatever about humans, right? Any species can only evolve so quickly through time, right? And we have found ways to evolve technology much faster than humans have the ability to do. We can adapt incredibly quickly. Human beings are the most adaptable thing to probably ever exist in nature, maybe. But I don't know, there's some stuff out in the ocean that's pretty crazy, but whatever. The point being is that now it's up to every individual. So nobody can do this for you, right? Every individual has to take into account this line of questioning. What have I evolved? What have I not evolved to handle in general? And then how can I spend my time according to the answers to those questions? And just in doing so, people are going to come up with different answers because no two people are the same. And maybe, the bread that makes her throw up every single day is not the same as the meat that makes you throw up every single day, right? Your immune systems are different, your body is different, your digestive system is different. So it's about, just gauging what you experience when you do certain activities, and learning about food, and learning about how you can change your day-to-day life, and different things that you can implement, test different things out, and then get rid of whatever's in between, right? And so that you can become a more effective and self-sustaining, self-sufficient human being, right? Okay, so just to recap, we have a thought experiment / line of questioning that is designed to assess what you are able to handle on a biological and physiological level, and learning to look at your environment and understand how long we've had as a species to evolve to accept this environment, and then making choices depending on your outcome, right? Maybe you need more time outside, maybe you need less time, maybe you need better food, maybe you're okay eating a little bit of bad stuff, right? Maybe you should be on a carnivore diet, maybe you should be on a vegan diet, and then testing all of the things in between and being like, hey, okay, I tried vegan diet, I was shitting my brains out every single day, I felt horrible, my skin looked disgustingly depleted of nutrients, and then I tried pescatarian and it worked great, right? Or maybe I tried carnivore, as everyone said, and it went pretty well at first, but I noticed that I just didn't have as much energy as I normally would, right? Just test these things out, and then maybe this diet is the best for you, and maybe this is the best for you, maybe keto, or maybe whatever, maybe vegetarian, maybe any of the things, maybe fruitarian, who the hell knows, right? You only know until you try. So that's my point. Think about everything that we have evolved to develop to handle as human beings, and make decisions, wise decisions, accordingly, and just test the waters, man. Try and figure your stuff out, right? And you don't know until you try. Cool. So moving on, this is getting a little dramatic, I think, here, but we're going to power through. And that is, bathe in the pain of current negative circumstances. Dig through the abyss of negative emotions to uncover your truths and discover your whys. And this is going to lead into something that I call the zipline method. So this being said, this is all coming from this very recent past of what I would consider negative emotional experiences, right? Which maybe not all negative, but definitely not positive. So anything shy of positive and below has been, to sum up, my last probably several months of existence, which is fine. You got hills and valleys. You know, you look at the long-term peaks and troughs of life, and you're going to have big ones on both ends of the spectrum, right? So, but what I'm saying is, to sum this all up, you know, all this abyss talk, right? Look into the abyss and it looks back, is actually that. Is, instead of just thinking about how shitty you feel, really embrace it. Really dig deep in that and wear it like a blanket of pain, and just love it. Love it and really bathe in that emotion. And when you start to accept it, you can kind of dig through and swim deeper, right? You can get even further down into that pain than maybe you would be. So instead of just existing in this negative point, you are controlling how you navigate that negative point. And to choose the darkness over the light is changing this dynamic that you have with the darkness, right? So instead of, oh my God, this sucks so bad, I'm having such a horrible week, horrible month, horrible year, I don't know what to do about it, I wish I could get to that other side. It's like, no, fuck that. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going, and I'm gonna exist in this nasty place, and maybe even make decisions to make it worse, right? Just not just so that you can gain control, but so that you can really appreciate the mindset and what is happening around you in this state of being. Because everybody always wants to be Mr. Happy, Mrs. Happy all the time, right? But that's not realistic. Sometimes you're going to have a bad day. Even if it's just a couple hours of bad time, just because you got a stomach bug or something, it's still learning to take that not as a inherently bad or good experience, but just as an experience. This is what life is. It is happiness, it is sadness, it is pain, it is death, it is life, it is all of these things. And to only embrace one side of it is to not truly embrace life. And so my argument is to take this negative time and dig deep within it and embrace it and learn from it instead of run from it, and to take the lessons that are being readily handed to you in this time of pain and use them to make your life better, right? And this is also going towards this whole discover your why thing, because a man who has a deep why can withstand any how, or something like that. You know, whatever they say, that if you find a really good reason for doing something, then very few things can talk you out of it, right? So that's kind of what it comes to, but really I think it's more about the truths, you know, learning about yourself in there. When you dig deep down within your pain, you find out who you are, and you find out what exists deep within yourself that you don't get to see normally, right? It's these great truths that are normally hidden by your day-to-day actions, right? And you can see glimpses of them as you make your daily choices. There's always a sense of whatever is within in every action that you perpetuate. But when you get in this pain, that is when people want to run. That's when people want to give up, sacrifice their morals just to make the pain stop. But if you embrace the pain, then you can see who you really are, right? And this is, we'll segue into this zipline method, which is something that I started developing my senior year of high school, I think. So I would have been 17, 18 years old. And one of these periods where I was just having a hell of a time, and it was this emotional negative that I couldn't seem to escape. And I've been in periods like that before. Probably when I was 13 or 14, I had a really long, bad period, and eventually found my way out of it. And then another one here. Now that I'm saying this, it seems like this is a repetitive pattern. I don't know what to make of that, but I'm sure that there's something in there. But anyways, my whole point, when I remember trying to explain this to this, I played football. I was this jockey guy, but I was trying to explain this to a lineman at the time, one of my buddies that I played football with, and I don't know, he wasn't really getting it, to say the least. But basically, what I was saying is that you have this negative cascade into the emotional bad space, right? Where you're everything that you're experiencing is pretty negative. Even if you experience a time that you know is supposed to be having a good time, it's still, you're just not having fun. You're not having a good time. You can't seem to escape this negative emotional pit, right? And what my argument was, and still is now, because I'm now rediscovering this, and I have used it again in this period, and I will report my findings in a moment. But basically, you ride that, and like I said, you embrace this deepness. You embrace the swimming down, swimming down, swimming down, and you keep going deeper in the pain. And eventually, there's no way but up. And so you use this upward tick of momentum, and then you push, and 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 you ride it all the way out, right? So, because basically, once you have, so let's say I have, Monday I have a great day. We'll, on a scale of 10, we'll rate it at an 8, right? And then let's say Tuesday, my day is more of like a 6. Not so great, but not terrible. And then Wednesday suddenly is a 2, right? And then I just experience a bunch of 2s in a row. Well, if you take that and then you drive yourself to experience a 1, and then now you keep going to experience a 0, eventually when you get to 0, there's not a whole lot of ways that your days can get much worse, right? On an average scale, normally you don't experience a friend or family member's murder or something right in front of you, or you don't get hit by a car, or you don't lose all your money randomly through identity hacking or something like that, right? You don't have massive moments of despair that happen to you all the time. Normally it's just day-to-day stuff, or it's chemical imbalance, or it's, just the dreariness of life that can get to you sometimes, right? So barring those circumstances, and this could be used even in those circumstances, I would say, because no matter what, if you can continuously push down, eventually you will reach at least some kind of plateau. Maybe not the floor, because there's always depths to human despair that can be discovered, but eventually you'll reach a plateau where, given your day-to-day experiences and who you are and where you live and what's going on around you, you can't really get much lower than that. And therefore, no matter what you experience, it will be a little bit higher than that, right? Just by extension, just by logic alone. Once you get down low enough, in a point that you have controlled the fall, right? Instead of just, I wish I could be happy. No, fuck that. I will be as unhappy as possible. And I will make choices to do so. I will stop going to the gym. I will stop eating healthy, right? I will drink more. And then, but being conscious of why you're doing it the whole time, okay? This is not advice, okay? This is an argument that I am proposing for choices that I've made in the past that have worked well for me because I've kept my eye on the ball, right? I'm not grabbing negative habits just to deal with the negative emotion. I'm using it as a way to slingshot or zip line myself out of this hole, right? Also, I will accept other names. Zip line was kind of the first thing that came up with. Slingshot, waterfall, super slide, whatever the hell you want to call it. The basic trajectory is that you ride the path down, and once you get to a point that is close enough to the bottom, you zip line back out of it by changing all of the habits that you have to be more positive. And then you can get a good momentum to get back into where you're at, right? And then you experience that momentum as a super crazy thrill ride of, I'm doing so great, and you'll probably have some kind of psychedelic experience as well, just given to you by this surging dopamine within your system, right? It's happened before, could happen again. So, just to recap, I don't know if that was a little out of left field, but I believe it. I believe it because I've done it, and I've done it multiple times now, and I had the exact same effects. And actually this time I noticed that once I got to pretty low on the spectrum, no matter how hard I tried to have a worse day than yesterday, it was difficult, and I kept finding myself to be, more excited, more happy, enjoying things more, which is not what I wanted to do, and it took some work for me to get rid of that positive emotion and sink deeper and deeper and deeper. And now, having a great time, right? And I'm in control of that great time, and I know that just because I drove myself down, I can experience the up. right? So, and this can tie in perfectly with how we feel does not matter, because this, if you get rid of this whole weight of I have to be happy, I have to be happy, I have to be happy, and you just embrace, I'm gonna feel. Sometimes it's gonna be great, sometimes it's gonna be not so great, sometimes it's gonna be somewhere in between. Hungry, thirsty, not thirsty. Things come and go, right? Once you embrace the fact that, emotions are something that exist within and around you, they are not you, then you can employ mechanisms like this, which is intentionally using and abusing your emotional system just so that you can experience heightened emotion on the downstream effect, right? So that's what I'm saying. And remember that zipline method. You hear anybody else say it? It came from Nick, all right? So, 30 minutes, we're doing pretty good on time, actually. So, the next part, out of 50 though, so we got 20 minutes left. Open communication with your body as if it was another being, right? And this kind of ties into something that I don't think that I've gotten into, but the separation of the human experience by basically body, mind, spirit, all these things, which is a bit much. I actually have it written down right here, so maybe we are going to get into it. So I've had lots of conversations with other people about the separation of your mind, your body, and your consciousness, right? And you could probably even argue for a fourth segment in there, spirit or soul or whatever, right? Your actual essence. But I started to really experience a different dynamic when I started fasting more. And I noticed that when I first started intentionally trying to fast, because I've had obviously periods where I couldn't eat or didn't have a chance to eat and I'd be hungry and whatever. The first time that I started intentionally not eating for an extended period of time to see any perceived benefits, it was horrible. It was horrible. Probably the first 3 times I would just get a headache and I would feel sick and I would just not be very happy. I'd be having a really hard time, right? And then I noticed that if I go into the fast and as soon as I start feeling the effects of hunger, I, in my mind, literally say to myself, as if I'm speaking to my body, from consciousness to body communication, I say, I am intentionally not eating. I will not be eating until at least this time. So you will make what you can out of what we got, right? Basically telling my body as if it was a sentient factory, saying, we're not getting another shipment in. You ain't getting no more coal, honey. You better start burning something, right? So you got to make it work, right? Essentially, telling my body that I'm in control here, okay? I am going to continue doing what I'm doing at a high level, right? And it is up to you to make sure that it is a more pleasant experience, right? Because this can go 2 ways. This is the dialogue between me and my body, remember? Either A, we are both in pain. Got headache, stomach ache, shaking, right? Or you find whatever you gotta find in the recesses of my cells, whatever dead tissue, whatever recyclable material, whatever fat stores you can gain access to, and you use that instead of what would have been in my stomach, right? So that's the communication that you have. And I noticed that every time that I've done that, it's been amazing, like amazing. I didn't advocate for fasting until I started doing that, and immediately I noticed my mind would be clearer, it would be faster, it would be much more concise. I would have great energy, fantastic energy to do whatever I was doing. I'd be laser focused, right? Just crazy effects. And then afterwards, you have the payoff of, I'm gonna eat. It's pretty damn good afterwards. You waited all this time. And the funny thing is that it's kind of like whenever I go through long periods of not drinking alcohol, when I get to the end where I'm like, okay, now I can have the thing that I've been starving myself of, right? I don't want to. right? I get to the end of the fast and I'm like, nah, I don't really want to eat. But it's like, no, bro, you gotta eat, right? You do have to survive. And I could do some of these 4-day, 7-day fasts or whatever. I'm not doing that. It's not conducive to the way that I want to live life, right? Just like the whole alcohol thing. It's kind of a side tangent, but at some point I'll probably will give up alcohol forever. Now that day is not today, and I sure as hell won't do it at the ripe young age that I am. I have much more drinks to be had and much more blackouts to experience. So I may go through periods of time, weeks, months, whatever, without drinking, but I do want to enjoy alcohol while I have the freedom and capability to do so, right? So, coming back to the main point, open communication with your body as if it was another. And I don't want to get too deep in the woods on the whole separation between mind, body, spirit, or consciousness, because I think that's more. I mentioned in some of my early videos about my shelf for my tinfoil hats, right? Now, I don't believe that this is tinfoil hat material at all, but I do think that it's transcending into a realm of thought that is deeper than my main purpose of this channel, which is what can we do every single day, day to day, minute to minute, to increase our abilities as humans and become more intentionally self-sufficient and self-sustaining. That's the goal. How can we reach success individually and together just by these day-to-day actions, right? This is kind of getting into more of spirituality and consciousness as a tangible, or I don't even know how to describe that. But so I think we're going to kind of cap that there. But this is a good threshold to that conversation, which is having communication between different parts of my being, which is my consciousness is talking to my physical body and experiencing a dialogue there that has an outcome, right? Just like when I go to my partner, my friend, my whatever family member, and I say, this is what I don't like about our relationship. We should fix this, right? And then they say, oh, well, I think we should fix this. And then we come to an agreement, and then we have a positive outcome based on the dialogue that was had, right? You and your consciousness and your body have a dialogue with an expressed desired outcome, and then that desired outcome is, maybe not exactly what you get, but it's closer to what you get, right? Instead of having a fucking migraine every single time that I don't eat for 3 hours, instead I experience these amazing highs because I had the communication and I took the time to be like, listen, this is what I'm doing, come up with a way to make it appropriate, right? Cool. So briefly before that's all I have for my main points. Briefly before we dive into the life hacks, which should be pretty quick, got about 12 minutes. I want to have 2 subsets about the whole how we feel and bathing in the pain, and more about how we feel. So I have 2 side steps of thought, 2 different ways that this can go. And it's, instead of abandoning trying to feel good or the best that you can, you should try to create a system of getting things done that is so enjoyable that you don't have, or at least you have less of, these negative experiences, right? So that's one side of thought, which is, maybe instead of just, oh, well, sometimes you feel bad, sometimes you feel good, it's create your system with the intention of feeling good about it all the time, or at least as much as possible, right? And then the other way is that when you choose to go down the path of your version of massive success, when you embark on that journey, one, it is going to be full of sacrifice, right? And it seems very romantic at its heart. But when you're actually doing it, you realize when you start actually having to make these sacrifices, it's real easy to stand up on that boulder in the beginning and say, I'm going to give up everything. I would rather, freedom or die, right? But then when somebody's actually, saying choose freedom or death, it's hard to make that choice, right? So just realizing that seeking massive success isn't always as romantic and pleasurable an ideal that than you may have imagined, and pursuing it anyways, because what are we here for, right? How long do we have? Yeah. So those are the kind of the subsets. It's that it's either create the system to be more enjoyable, or just accept that sometimes shit's gonna suck, right? That's my whole deal there. So, onto the life hacks. Hey, here we are, wrapping things up now. First one, which was going to be the only one, and I was going to just kind of divide it up a little bit, is clean yourself up, dog. Like, clean up your act a little bit here, okay? One is clean up your appearance. Two is clean up your surroundings. And this is not a new thing. This is something that many people have said. But this is, ladies, gentlemen, anybody. If you're having a hard time thinking and you're having a hard time pushing ahead, do what you can. And sometimes doing what you can means clean your fucking room, right? Pick up the clothes, fold your clothes, do all your laundry, get everything out of your way, make your bed, right? Sweep everything up, mop the floors. Tidy up the space around you, and you will be tidying up your mind. Maybe just slightly, maybe a ton. You never know. Sometimes the effects vary. Right? But clean up your environment, and it ends up helping you clean up your outer environment. Shapes your inner environment. So you clean the outer, you clean the inner, right? So that's the main point, or the point B about this is clean up your stuff around you and just see where that gets you, right? If you can do nothing else, clean your fucking room. And then the other one is clean your appearance. Right, and this, I feel like, especially for men, maybe just because I've talked to more men about it, this is not especially for men. This is especially for everybody. But I'm saying men seem to ignore this the most. They think that, like, you're either hot or you're not, right? You either got it or you don't. But just think, how much effort have you put into your appearance, right? You know, I've been criticized for my looks my entire life, right? Oh, you can't speak on attractiveness because you're this or you're that, or you don't know what you're talking about. Sure, I've been what I would say blessed. I have been very successful in the relationship market, right? This is just one of the cards that I've been dealt. As we've been talking about in the past, you're dealt a hand of cards. You can either get mad at the other guy for having that ace of spades, or you can just play your fucking hand, right? So that being said, no matter what my original blessings or gifts, right, I have expanded on them by taking care of my appearance, as I believe everyone should. Learn how to trim your beard, or learn to shave your beard. Learn how to trim your facial hair, or your hair on your head, just to what matches your face, or your head shape, or your body type, or your athleticism level, or, you know, learn how to tweeze your eyebrows, learn how to thread your eyebrows, which I don't know how to do, but learn how to learn how to develop a skincare routine, right? Go to the gym. So taking care of your appearance changes your life. It changes all your interactions, right? If you have beautiful skin, imagine how that job interview is going to go instead of if you had pockmarked, nasty, acne-ridden skin, right? And that's something else that I want to talk about is you will always, whatever you seek, you will find. And I have known many people with horrible acne, and I do really, really empathize and sympathize with them. I've been very blessed not to have any acne, right? Max I've had on my face is like 3 pimples at a time, right? My whole life. And I can't imagine having that much stuff on your face that is so out of your control. But I would say just look and look and look for a solution, right? Look for a solution. I know a girl she said she's tried everything, but she never went to the gym. Exercise, man. You know, that's a whole facet of your health, the health of your skin and all of the organs in your body is physical exercise. So how can you say you've tried everything if you haven't tried the big one, right? So this all comes back. Find a way to clean up your appearance and get creative about it and take time, right? Take the hour or so that it would take to look in the mirror and stand there painstakingly and trim out every little hair on the outline of your eyebrows to make them the perfect shape that you want, right? And discover what that shape that you want is, right? Learn how you want to trim your facial hair if you're a guy, right? Learn how to style your hair no matter what gender you are, right? Just learn how to use your physicality, what you have already within and without, to your advantage. And in doing so, you will clear up, just like clearing up your room, you clear up so much clutter from your mind if you have these basic things taken care of, right? That's my main point. Clean yourself up. Clean up your act here, all right, brother, sister? Get things together. And my next one was going to be relationships, but I think we're gonna cut it here, all right? So we'll breeze real quick over everything. Forget how you feel. Forget how you feel, whether good or bad, and stop depending all of your decisions on what's going to make you feel the best, right? What's going to get you closer to the goalpost? That's what you need to be considering. Not, am I going to be happy when I do this? Is this run going to be comfortable? No, right? Is this run going to decrease the fat content around within my organs, right? Is it going to make my longevity, the health of my life, is it going to last me way longer? Am I going to last longer in general? Is this lifting session going to be pleasant, or is it going to be effective? Consider these things. Basing your experiences and what you engage in day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year, on what us as a species of humans have learned and adapted to experience. What are you eating that isn't so appropriate? What are you drinking? What are you behaving? These things take into consideration, because only one person can actually do or make the changes in your life that are going to give you the best experience, and that's you. And the only way to do that is to think about things like this, in my opinion, is my argument. Take it if you will. The next is bathe in the pain of your current negative circumstances. Really dig around in there. Try out this zipline method. You're having a hard time, have a harder time, right? And then love that hard time. Learn to fucking dig it, man. Love it, love it. Get in there like a hot bath that's super hot, or maybe a cold bath. That's probably more like it. Just learn to sit in there and soak it up, and then shoot out the other side and have a great time, right? You did the hard work. Now keep pushing, keep getting further. Open communication with your body as if it was another, and how this is learned through fasting and things like that. Just learn to communicate with yourself. I won't get into it now, but I have actually learned somewhat reliably through this inner conversation and dialogue, to get rid of headaches on command and hiccuping on command. Doesn't work every time. I used to be a lot better at it than I am now, but the point being is you never know what you're going to find on the other side, right? Placebo effect or not. Headaches goes away, hiccups go away. That sounds pretty real to me. That's all I'm going to say. And then life hacks: clean yourself up, clean your room, clean your face, clean your body. That's what I'm saying here. And with that, I will say, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. I hope you have a very wonderful week, wonderful day, and an even better year. I hope blessings find you, and I hope that you find them, and you continue doing the hard work. And with that, I will say, Nick out.